Hey Ottawa, this is your Monday market snapshot for the Ottawa real estate market for Monday, February 5th, 2024. My name is Annalee Rice. I'm a realtor here in Ottawa, Ontario, and every week I bring you the details of what's going on in the Ottawa real estate market. This week being the first week for February, I've got the January full month stats, including lots of the charts and details on pricing month to month and year over year. So stay tuned, follow along to the end and see what's happening in Ottawa. Okay, so first off, we can see that the active listings dropped this week. So it's down by 65 this week, and it was mainly in it's across property types, to be honest. A lot of condos, less. The sales this week were down just slightly, just down by 6 this week, and you'll see that it was mostly the freehold properties that had lower sales, and the condos picked up this week. When we look at the inventory, so we see the overall inventory in black, so it's slight dip, and the active listings, again, the green line, slight dip. We can see that the sales, again, were just slightly down, but the number of conditional sales was actually up this week. It was up by about 25. So after 3 weeks of steadily climbing inventory, we had a little bit of a dip, and it's due to a couple of reasons. First, those conditional sales increased, but then we also have the fact that it was the end of the month happened during this last recording week, and so a lot of properties expired, and so we may see a lot of those come back on the market this week. Okay, so for new listings, we had 270 new listings this week, and that was just up just slightly from what we had last week. 66 of those properties were relisted properties. That's 24%, and 204 or 76% were new to the market properties. And these numbers are almost identical to what we had last week. The same percentages, and the numbers were plus or minus 5 or so. I'm expecting that we will see a continued increase to the number of new listings. I know a lot of people are prepping listings right now, and so we will see inventory climbing, and it's just a matter of how much the sales are going to climb as well to see how much the overall inventory climbs. Okay, so I've revamped this slide a little bit. It still contains the same information for most part. We've got the no conditions. So we've got 23% of the homes that sold this week sold with no conditions. The 4-week average is at 18%, so it's climbing. The last 3-4 weeks, we've been increasing on the number of homes selling with no conditions. 9% of the sales that happened this week were homes that sold within 7 days or less, and a shocking 67%, so 2/3 of those sold with no conditions. So 10 homes out of the 15 that sold within the 7 days being on the market sold with no conditions. So that's a bit telling on the competition for homes that are seen as highly desirable, quick, new to the market, and selling with no conditions. 46% of the sales this week were homes that had been on the market for 30 days or less. The thing that I've added to this one, and it was following last week, I had commented that 25% of the sales that had happened had been at or above the asking price. And so this week I checked it again. It's a little bit lower. It was at just shy of 20%. So 19.5% of the sales this week were at or above asking. So this stat is useful right now while most places are being listed at the prices that sellers are looking to sell at. This will lose its value, and I will remove it if we start getting into the situation where a lot of listings are being put up at prices that the sellers are not looking to actually sell at. So back in the hype of 2020 through early 2022, most properties, almost every single property was being listed artificially low, which would drive offers, drive interest, and the sale prices were obviously well above the asking price. And so that becomes kind of a useless stat at that point. Okay, so let's zoom in and see what happened in the different regions of the city. First, we have the central urban region. We see that the number of active listings dropped. Townhomes stayed the same, but condos quite a big drop, and detached a bit of a drop. Sales were up for condos, slightly up for towns, and down for detached. Canada and Stittsville, we had a drop in the detached market, steady for townhomes, slight increase for condos, and sales were down across the board, but steady for condos. Barrhaven and Riverside South, I have said this for several weeks in a row for that detached market, and now we see the condos had a bit of a blip down. There are very few properties listed for sale in Barrhaven and Riverside South. Looking at population-wise, Barrhaven and Riverside South is almost the same as Orleans, and you'll see on the chart format, we'll see how different the number of active listings are. Detached homes, not a lot on the market right now, and has been dropping the last couple of weeks. But sales have also been pretty slow. Only 6 detached homes selling this week, possibly because there's nothing out there. Condos had a high number of condos selling, and when we get to the chart form, also conditional sales. And in Orleans, we are starting to see a little bit of an increase this week for active listings for detached, steady for towns, and up just 1 for condos. Sales were pretty flat, up a couple or down a couple. Okay, so here's the full details for the residential detached, and you can really see the differences in the number of active listings in the different regions. So you see Canada Stittsville is significantly higher, and that's a pretty normal amount of homes on the market for there, but Barrhaven and Riverside South only has probably about 20%, not even 20% less population, and there's significant fewer number of properties on the market there. Orleans is a little bit is in between for population, and obviously it's looking pretty good for the number of houses that are on the market there. For the townhomes, we see that it's pretty slim across all of the different suburbs there. Lots of townhomes on the market in the city, in the inner urban city, and sales are pretty slow across the different areas. And condos, we're starting to see we see that big blip of Barrhaven dropped quite significantly. Only 15 condos on the market there, which is very low for that area. Usually sit up around mid-20s. And then they have a fair number of conditional and sold. And we see that the average days to sell out in the suburbs is starting to come down there. Okay, so since we're at the month end, I could give the details for the average sale prices for the different classifications of properties. So the detached, semi-detached, and freehold all saw month-over-month average sale price increases, most significantly in the townhome market. Semis were up just a little bit, detached just slightly. And the condos saw a drop. They were both up last month, and they're, again, I've said this many times, they're a lot more volatile because there's just a lot wider variety of what is selling, and you have a couple luxury condos, and there were a couple really luxury condos that sold in December, so it pulls the averages up. Okay, so here we have the charts for the average sale price detached homes by year, and now we're back at the leftmost columns there. The black one is now the 2024, and we can see that the average sale price was up just slightly from 2023 and also up slightly from 2021. We've got the 2022 is the tall spike there in the middle. And so we can see that the typical price progression is upwards for the next 3-4 months as we get into the spring market. Okay, so this is for the semi-detached, and we see that obviously there's a lot more volatility. Some years are higher or lower. Prices this last January were lower than 2023 or 2022 or 2021. But it very well could be that the type of semi-detached home that's selling was different. There's a lot of variety in the semi-detached market across the city. And for townhomes, very much like what we saw in the detached market, they're very steady from year over year. And we also 2021, about the same prices there. So 2022 was the anomaly there with the high spike. And condos, this is not separated into apartments or row homes. So we see this is all condos. And so we see that the spikes from 2022 are less pronounced. And obviously there is a little bit more volatility with monthly prices, month to month or year by year, depending on what's selling. Okay, so with the prices, the more homes selling over asking, we will expect, and we do see, especially in the detached and the townhome markets, we see that the close price to the original list price ratio is starting to climb. So with more homes selling above asking, we're going to get closer to that 100% as more homes sell for higher prices than what they were listed for. Condos didn't see that this month. In fact, it was down a little bit, below 97%. This chart here, we've just got it for the last, since January 2023. If you recall watching from previous, mid 2023, I was including the 2022 one. So we're up at around 115% in the early times of 2022. So I've cut off 2022 from these stats. And the charts are topped out at around 100 or 99% there. Okay, so these charts show us how long the average days to sell for the homes that are selling. And I'm actually surprised that they didn't drop a little bit from the December, because we did have a fair number of January sales of properties that had just come on. So maybe it was a little bit of it's the average. So you've got a lot of homes that were selling throughout January that were homes that were on for months and months leading up to the holidays, leading up to the new year. And so those ones balanced out the few properties that did sell very quickly in January. But I do expect that these average days to sell will start coming down, and how far down they come will really depend on the market. If we stay within a pretty balanced scenario where a lot of places have conditional periods, and longer places still do sell, will stay similar to last year where you're around that 20 days on market. But if we start getting into more of a prevalent offer dates and fewer places selling with conditions, you might start having the averages down into the teens. Hopefully not down to the point where we're at in the crazy times where things were, single digits. Okay, so monthly sales for the last 10 years. I have updated this. The black dot on the left-hand side there near the bottom is the 2024, and that line will grow as we go. But we'll see that it wasn't the lowest January we've seen. In fact, it was the fourth lowest since 2013, which these are the ones that I've been tracking. So the fourth lowest January sales, but it's better than 3 other years, and that was better than last year, obviously. Okay, so these charts are the months of inventory, and this, I've said it before, but months of inventory represents how many months it would take to sell all of the currently listed inventory at the current sales rate if no more properties came on the market. So currently we sit at 3.4 months for detached, 2.1 months for townhomes, and 3.3 months for condos. As we see, the last 4 months for detached, 3 months for townhomes, and 3 months for condos, the months of inventory has been dropping. And this is mostly because the amount of inventory dropped off throughout the fall. From October through January, the amount of inventory was dropping. Sales held fairly steady throughout the fall, and now that we're starting to see the number of sales increasing in January, and as we're moving into February, they'll be increasing. This ratio will probably continue to drop, as we see happens typically in the spring. How far it drops depends on that sort of balance between the sales and the number of listings that come on. Okay, so that's the update for this week. Hopefully that was useful and helpful. And if you have any questions, please reach out, drop a question in the comments, and I hope you have a fantastic week.